All right, so I see that the line is forming in the middle of the house, and so there are a lot of you who have questions. You, sir, would be the first question.
Hi, Mr. Burton. My name is Dennis Mitchell. Just want to ask you, of the Star Trek legends that you've been on screen with, who's your favorite to act opposite of?
Well, Jimmy Doohan. Because he's Scotty.
The man.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi.
Hi, I was wondering...
Austin.
Yes, sir.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm well. Austin was the first person in line this morning. And his sister, Meredith.
Wife.
Wife!
Oh!
Yeah.
Sister, wife, sister, wife. Wife, 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 wife!
I was wondering, whenever you directed the episode Second Chances...
Yes.
What were the challenges from a director's standpoint?
Jonathan Frakes, and Jonathan Frakes.
I was just wondering what the challenges were of having to have him in so many places at once.
One Jonathan is plenty, two Jonathans is way too much. Yeah, you're welcome.
Hello, it's a two-part question. How was it to work on Community with that cast? And since it got renewed, do you think they'll ask you back, and would you go back?
Well, it all depends on whether or not Donald Glover comes back. Because
he said he was interested.
right now, we are being held captive by pirates, someplace in the Gulf of Mexico. But yeah, if Donald comes back, and if they invite me, I love Community, I love the show, I love Donald Glover, I'd be happy to return.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Eric. I want to know, what is your favorite children's book, and what would you say Geordie LaForge's is?
Never been asked that question. When I talk about my favorite children's books, I generally cite two, one for boys and one for girls. The book that I choose for boys is called Enemy Pie by Derek Munson, and a terrific story about a young man who has a problem. He's got an enemy who's moved into his neighborhood, and his father makes enemy pie for him to solve his enemy problem. It has a surprise ending that you won't see coming. At least I didn't the first time I read it, and I really love that book. I highly recommend it. For girls, I like a book by Mary Hoffman called Amazing Grace. You know Amazing Grace? Yeah. Some people know Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace is a story about a young girl who wants to be Peter Pan in her school play, and her classmates, some of her classmates don't think she should be Peter Pan because she's black and she's a girl. However, Grace surprises everybody with the power of her imagination, and is the best person for the part. And of course, she ends up winning the role. So, those are two wonderful pieces of children's literature that I always like to recommend. As far as what would Geordie's favorite children's book be? Three Blind Mice. How are you going to boo me on that? I thought that was pretty good. Hi.
Hi, I'm Melissa.
Hi,
I
Melissa.
wanted to know what your favorite memory from Star Trek was.
My favorite memory from Star Trek, Melissa? Was actually one that didn't happen on the set. When I got married many years ago, Brent Spiner was my best man. And my groomsmen were Michael Dorn, Jonathan Frakes, and Patrick Stewart. So, my wedding photos are kick-ass. Thanks, Melissa.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I wanted to know who your idols were when you were growing up, and both in your family and outside of your family.
Hands down, by far and away, my mom. My mother, Irma Jean Christian. Whenever I speak in front of people, I always like to mention her name, Irma Jean Christian. I am the man I am because my mother is the person that she is. It is my mother who's responsible for my love of the written word. She was an English teacher, and in my mom's house, you either read a book or got hit in the head with one. She wasn't particular, it was your choice, but you were going to have an encounter with the written word. My mom is terrific. She's a single mother, raised my two sisters and myself, always put us through Catholic school, the best education possible. My mom taught me at a very early age that I would grow up and live in a world that would sometimes be hostile to my presence simply because of the color of my skin. And she knew that the only leveler of the playing field was the best education she couldn't afford. And she always made sure that we had the best education available. Please applaud for my mom. Her mom's everywhere.
Hi, my name's Lori. Are there any rules that you turned down that you wish you wouldn't have?
Roles that I've turned down that I wish I wouldn't? No, not really. It was, I think, third or fourth season of Next Generation, and I didn't find this out until after the movie was released, but the producers of Glory wanted me to play one of the roles, and the producers of Star Trek said no, he's busy. And Denzel Washington went on and won an Academy Award. Damn him.
Hello. I was wondering, what is the inspiration you had for reading Rainbow in the first place?
Well, the inspiration, my participation is inspired by a couple of things. Clearly my mom. And the Roots experience, interestingly enough, was one that really demonstrated for me the power of the medium of moving pictures and sound. And because there are maybe a handful of you who are alive when Roots first aired. When Roots first aired, raise your hands if you were, whoa, more than a few, okay. All right. In 8 consecutive nights of television, I observed America become transformed around the issue of slavery and its attendant legacy racism. And Roots was a learning experience for all of America, both black and white America. And when the idea to use this very powerful medium to get kids connected to books, especially during the summer vacation when their reading and comprehension skills plummet because they're not reading. In the 80s, our kids were spending all their time in front of the TV, especially during the summer, so it was pretty radical to use this very powerful medium to get kids interested in literature. I thought it was a brilliant idea. Thank you.
My name's Eric.
Hey, Eric.
I have 2 questions. First of all, it has to do with the fact my son is 7, and he saw your picture on the flyer for this convention. He said, "That's the guy from Reading Rainbow." I said, "How do you know that?" So they show it at school. So they still, it's still creating a rich legacy. And my question was, what do you like to read? Like just for fun, just for pass the time. What kind of books do you like to read?
3 Blind Mice. Oh, sometimes I crack myself up. My favorite genre of literature tends to be science fiction.
My other question is, as for your, I think it was your second appearance on Big Bang, or no, first appearance, are you...
Eric, you're wearing handcuffs.
Yeah, I just escaped from Arkham Asylum, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I came to see you. No. Are you really so done with Twitter?
No, not really. But I haven't tweeted. I tweeted today. I tweeted good morning, y'all. Or I tweeted morning, y'all. I try and tweet morning, good morning, and sometimes I tweet night, y'all. But I like the Twitters. You don't like the Twitters, Eric? Oh, you love the Twitters. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. No, I do all my own tweeting. Yeah, I do all my own tweeting. Interestingly enough, I'm on Twitter because there was someone impersonating me. And I'm a fairly early adopter. I've been on Twitter over 5 years. But there was somebody impersonating me, and their tweets were humorous only because they were incongruous coming from LeVar Burton. You know what I mean? And I didn't think that was okay. And so I was able to contact Twitter and get my name back. And I figured, well, this is a tremendous opportunity to say what I want, when I want, how I want, in 140 characters or less. And it's turned out to be a wonderful way to communicate with fans. Absent publicists or lawyers or studio executives, it's my conversation. It's what I want to talk about. And I feel it's pretty empowering. I enjoy it a lot. Anybody follow me on Twitter in the room? Yay! God bless. I'll tweet you.
In 2 parts, is there a book that you're reading right now?
Mm-hmm.
And what is that?
Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah. I just finished watching the television series. I did all 4 seasons in 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And I loved it. And my wife and daughter have been fans from the very beginning, so I enjoyed it so much. I really wanted to go and have the experience with the book. So I'm about 900 pages in, and on my iPad, I think it's about 6,700 pages, so I got a long way to go.
And is there a book that you tend to go back to, something that means something to you that you want to re-experience again and again?
Oh, I have a lot of books on that list. A lot. I tend to reread books an awful lot. I find that, and I'm sure you do too, that going back to a book, there are things that you see and that occur to you that didn't the time before. So,
Can you name one, please?
Well, let's see. I've read the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, The Unbeliever, several times. I love Stephen R. Donaldson's work. I've read The Road Less Traveled on several occasions. I'm a big fan of M. Scott Peck and his philosophy. There are a lot. I love rereading books. Yeah, man.
Hi, what is something we can't take your word for?
I'm here.
What was it like wearing the visor on Star Trek The Next Generation?
It was hell. Can I just say I hated the visor? Well, hate is a strong word. Yeah, oh yeah, that's the word I wanted to use. The visor, and at the same time I love the visor. So I have a very conflicted relationship with the visor because I get how it communicates the sophistication of the technology of the 24th century, and it does a terrific job of that. However, when I put the visor on, I can't see shit. Literally, my vision is reduced by 85%. I could not see this, I couldn't see that. Imagine running around without seeing your feet all the time. And it would never do for Geordi to look down. Geordi had to be on it all the time. And it was part of his character that he moved with energy, right? Geordi was always on top of the situation. Even when he wasn't on top of the situation, he acted like he was on top of the situation, right? So the visor presented a lot of problems, and not the least of which is, after about a half an hour or 40 minutes in it, I'd begin to get a headache. So I'd have to take it off and frequently throughout the day, just because it was literally a pain in my head. So yeah, I love the visor. I hate the visor. It's kind of like my wife, my sister, my wife, my sister. but ultimately, one day it's going to put my granddaughter through college when I finally decide to sell it on eBay. I think that will be my ultimate revenge.
Hi, my name is Leah. I have 2 questions. The first one was, what was your favorite part about being on The Big Bang Theory?
The money? I'm a big fan of Big Bang. I love the show, and being asked to be on it, not once but twice, was really special. And Kaylee Cuoco and I had worked together many times. She was in the last season of Charmed, and I directed many episodes of Charmed back in the day, so it was good to reacquaint myself with Kaylee.
And why was the promise of gas money and free food enough to be on Thunder Flags?
That's just how I roll.
How you doing, Mr. Burton?
Well, those are the essentials of life, aren't they? Right? Gas money and free food. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Hey, Mr. Burton, how you doing?
Well, how are you?
Doing outstanding. Thanks. Good to see you. My name is David. I have two questions for you. First one might be kind of different, but the legacy or the formula for Reading Rainbow was extremely successful. I guess my question is, do you think that exact same formula would work the same way of getting, reaching out to kids as far as community importance of math and science?
Wow. I'm sure that with some alterations. Look, the idea of Reading Rainbow, at least to me, was pretty simple. Number one, meet kids where they are and take them where you want them to go. Back in the 80s, our kids were spending a lot of time in front of the television. Today's kids, if you want to reach today's kids, you need to be on a tablet device. You need to be in the digital realm. And so 2 years ago, we launched the Reading Rainbow app on the Kindle Fire and on the iPad, and we now have kids coming to the app and reading 200,000 books a week. So this is an experience that has really shown me that we can teach our kids anything we want, and if we use this very engaging technology, I mean, hell, we all want to be on these devices, right? If we take this technology and put whatever it is we want to teach our kids, math, science, literature, language, put it in the form of storytelling. Put it in the form of storytelling, right? Add some bells and whistles, some rewards, some gaming mechanics. We can teach our kids anything, and we can use this very engaging technology to do it. I firmly believe that.
I understand. I like that. Thank you. This last question here. What legacy, I know it's hard to weigh the two, but which legacy means the most to you? Your legacy from Star Trek or your legacy from Reading Rainbow?
Well, why did you leave out Roots?
Roots, that's a big one too. Roots, that's a huge one too, yes.
And why do I have to choose, David?
Touche.
Now, I'll be honest with you. As culturally significant as Roots is, and as inspirational as Star Trek is, I am most proud of Reading Rainbow.
We're going to cut the line right now, so the last person in line will get to you.
What was your favorite moment from Star Trek Next Generation, and what made it your favorite?
My favorite moment from Star Trek Next Generation? I know what my least favorite was. Being turned into a lizard. That wasn't fun. That kind of sucked. But my favorite moment? I don't know. I'd say the experience of directing for the first time. Directing Second Chances, I was so pumped up, I was so psyched, and at the end of it, I knew that I had discovered a new vocation. I knew that it was something that I wanted to do over and over and over again. So that was a real epiphany for me.
Let's move up. Let's move up. You guys,
I know you guys. You get further and further away.
I know.
Yeah.
Come on. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you. My name's Anna. This question comes from my brother. We both grew up on reading Rainbow and loved it. And he was wondering why you chose to approach improving literacy by just making kids love books and love to read, instead of approaching it from the more educational, the more regular sort of standpoint of just improving literacy through like phonics or something like that.
Well, I think that both are necessary, and there are plenty of people who teach kids how to read. Very few human beings ever fail to crack the code, right? You will learn how to read. It's pretty much assured. Then the next step for me is developing a love of reading. And if you do that, your life improves immeasurably over the course of your lifetime. And it's just, I don't think that it's possible to achieve your full potential as a human being without being a reader, without loving to learn.
I was wondering, recently I've read the George Orwell's 1984 and Animal Farm, and it really opened my eyes to the world around us and what our history is. What book has done that for you?
Oh, there are a lot. I studied for the priesthood earlier in my life, and when I made the decision to not become a priest, it was as a result of reading some existential philosophy, Lao Tzu, The Way of Zen, Metamorphosis, Kafka, Kierkegaard, Heidegger. These were the eye-openers for me that caused me to really want to go out there and explore the world without the stricture of wearing a collar. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Jenny, and just want to start off, you're so handsome in person.
I'm blushing too, Jenny.
My question is, well, I was a huge fan of reading Rainbow growing up, and I was wondering, do you have a favorite poem? And do you want to recite it to us?
Madam, I am Adam. Short but sweet.
Oh, he's my traveling companion. Thank you for being here today.
Hey, guys.
I wanted to congratulate you on the continuing success of Reading Rainbow.
Thank you,
and
sir.
thank you for your dedication to literacy. I've been following you since Roots, and I even recall a movie called Dummy that you had done with Paul Sorvino.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's an excellent movie.
Yeah.
I wanted to know how you felt when you were picked up for the launch of Star Trek: The Next Generation as a TV series, and then later when you found that it was going to succeed the original cast in the movies.
Well, I'm a huge Star Trek fan. I don't know if you know that about me. I love the original series. Like I said earlier, science fiction tends to be the body of literature that I gravitate to more than any other, and Gene Roddenberry's vision of the future was seriously important to me. It was not often, when I was a kid, to find heroes in the pages of the science fiction novels that I read that had characters who looked like me. So Gene's vision of the future was one that at least stated, when the future comes, there's a place for you. I'm a child of the 60s, so I grew up in the middle of the Civil Rights era, and seeing Nichelle Nichols on the bridge of the Enterprise meant the world to me. So growing up and becoming a member of that family, I don't have words, really, to express what that means to me. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Mark. I know when I was was a kid, I kind of grew up watching Star Trek: The Next Generation, and that kind of shaped my love of sci-fi, acting in general. Was there like a role or a movie or a TV show that kind of did that for you when you were a kid?
Star Trek. Yeah. Matt, in case you hadn't heard, I love Star Trek.
There's the thing of time of keeps and there keeps being very cool times and it keeps getting more of the time of sadness and party.
Could you ask the question?
All the time there keeps being more, maybe.
You're talking about cars again.
Talking about cars. I love cars too.
I know you love cars too.
Christopher, we had this conversation yesterday. What kind of car do I drive?
Lexus.
That's it, baby.
My question is, given how committed you are to literacy and education, have you ever considered running for public office? And if so, would you use the campaign slogan, "You don't have to take my word for it"?
When I left the Catholic Seminary in 1974 and moved to Los Angeles to study theater at USC, my minor was political science. I grew up in Sacramento, capital of California, in a highly politically active and aware family. And at one point in my life, I did consider public office as a way to serve. My mom's second career was as a social worker, so I grew up really with the primary example that one's life should be about service, no matter what it is you do. However, the older I got, the more disillusioning the game of politics became to me, and I currently believe that I can be much more effective doing what it is I do, rather than trying to run for any sort of office.
Well, I vote for you. I vote for you.
Well, thank you. I'm not going to ask you to.
Hi, my name's Kayla, and I loved reading Rainbow growing up, and I think if I could have lunch with any celebrity alive or dead, I would want to have lunch with you. You're just so intellectual, and we'd have a fascinating conversation. But my question is concerning the J.J. Abrams Star Trek films. What is your opinion on how they've done anything, and would you potentially like a part in it? Be totally candid. We can take it.
Thanks, Kayla, and let's have lunch. I like the films. I do. I'd love to be able to say I love the films. I think they're terrific. They're great action pictures. But I miss Gene's vision. It's just... Star Trek has always been about something. And I would love for this new incarnation, I would love for these new movies to follow in that tradition. I have asked him whenever I see him, I ask him, when are you going to talk about something that's important?